Hey guys, imagine this. You're standing in the tall grass. It's hot, humid. Your red wool coat is soaked through with sweat and grime and regret. You're holding a rifle that takes 20 seconds to reload if your fingers aren't shaking. Your boots are caked with dust. Your pack is cutting into your shoulders. And somewhere out there just beyond the tree line, drums are beating. Not music, not celebration. War drums. Deep and slow. You don't speak the language, but you understand the message. We are coming. It's January 1879. You're in Zululand, and you're about to fight in a war you don't understand against warriors who don't take prisoners. You're not behind a wall. You're not dug in. You're in the open, and the Zulu are fast. Faster than you. Faster than the bullet in your chamber. If you'd like more stories like this, give the video a like and subscribe. It helps us keep making them. Now close your eyes. You're not in your bed anymore. You're on the veld. The grass is high, the sky is low, and the drums are getting louder. You step off the boat and the heat hits you like a slap. Not the warm sun of summer back home, not the kind that smells like cut grass and riverbanks. This heat is different. It's heavy, sticky, saturated with something that makes your lungs work harder and your stomach churn. Durban Harbour is loud, but not with battle, not yet. Men shout, carts clatter, oxen snort. Everything smells like sweat, salt, dung and gun oil. There's shouting in English, in Zulu, in Dutch. You catch fragments, supplies, quartermaster, rifles, march orders. And that's your first real clue. You're not in charge of anything here. You're not here to plan. You're here to march. You tighten the straps on your pack and follow the others. Your boots are already sticking to the wood planks of the dock. A sergeant barks at a private to get moving and then glares at you like he's daring you to be next. You don't say a word. Just fall in. Your rifle is Martini Henry. Single shot. Breech loading. You practiced with it back in England. You were told it's the most advanced infantry weapon in the Empire. You believe that because you have to. But right now, it feels less like a weapon and more like a question. The march inland starts that afternoon. The sun isn't overhead anymore. It's to your right, bleeding light into the horizon like a warning. The road turns from stone to dirt, and then from dirt to something less than that. Just broken grass and hoof prints, wagon ruts and puddles thick as syrup. There's a storm in the distance, but it's not coming for you. Not yet. You pass kraal Zulu homesteads tucked between acacia trees. Women watch from a distance, quiet, expressionless. Children hide behind stone walls and huts. You don't know what they're thinking. You don't ask. You just keep walking. Your uniform is soaked through before you've gone a mile. The red wool, the high collar, the stupid leather helmet that does nothing but trap the heat. It all feels like a costume. A costume for an execution. A corporal from another regiment jokes that he's melting. Someone else says, better melted than speared. Nobody laughs. That night you camp outside of Pietermaritzburg. Not in tents, there aren't enough. You sleep under the stars if you sleep at all. The ground is hard, the bugs are louder than they should be. You swat one off your neck and feel something wet. Blood or sweat. Maybe both. The NCOs whisper about plans. Columns. 3 of them. One heading north, one centre, one on the right flank. You're in the centre with Chelmsford, the big man, the one who thinks this war will be done in a few weeks. You've heard the rumours. The Zulu king Setshwayo has an army of 20,000. Spears, sure. Shields, sure. But disciplined, organised. They move fast. They don't break ranks. And they don't give up. You lie awake and try to imagine them. The enemy. Not in red, not in lines. Not like you. You picture shadows running through the grass, eyes in the dark, feet silent on the earth. Someone nearby hums a tune, an old pub song. Another man whispers a prayer. You just stare at the stars and wait for sleep that won't come. In the morning, the officer reads from a folded paper. You will cross the Buffalo River and enter Zululand. There are cheers from a few new recruits. They haven't been in battle yet. They think this will be a quick march and a clean victory. You know better, even if you don't say it out loud. The wagons groan as they roll out. Oxen strain. The engineers break out machetes to clear brush. It's slow going. The grass is shoulder high in places. Birds cry out overhead, sharp and sudden. You grip your rifle tighter every time. By noon, you've crossed into enemy territory. There's no ceremony, just a marker stone and then nothing. Just Africa. Wild, vast, waiting. The sky darkens, but it's not clouds. It's smoke. Someone's burning something ahead. A kraal? A warning? No one stops to check. You just march, and that's when you hear it. Distant. Faint. Boom, boom, boom. You stop walking. Others do too. It's not gunfire, not thunder, not horses. It's drums. Zulu war drums. Someone mutters, "They know we're here." Someone else says, "Good, let them come." But you say nothing. Because in your gut you understand something the others don't. They're not coming. Not yet. They're waiting. And the drums? They're not a threat. They're a clock. And it just started ticking. The first thing you notice when you enter Zululand is the silence. It's not peaceful. It's not comforting. It's the kind of silence that feels like it's watching you. The kind that hums just beneath your skin and makes your heart beat too loudly in your chest. You cross the Buffalo River with your boots already soaked and your nerves stretched tight. There's no ceremony, no speeches. Just water up to your thighs and the knowledge that the moment you step on the far bank you're in their world now. Their land, their rules. The ground is different here. Not the hard-packed dust of Natal. It's softer, damp, the kind of earth that remembers footprints. You step and look back and your boot print stares up at you like a warning. The men are quieter today, even the loud ones. They're not cracking jokes, not talking about home. They're just watching the tall grass, waiting for it to move. The officers say there's no need to worry. The Zulu won't attack yet. They're too disorganized, too primitive. You want to believe that. You really do. But you've seen the maps. You've heard the scouts. They move in silence. They hide in plain sight. They run for miles without rest. They know this terrain like it's part of their body. You've been here 2 days and already the sun is cooking your thoughts. You look around. Red coats in every direction. Rows of men sweating through their uniforms, rifles slung across aching shoulders, boots crusted with dust and dread. A private ahead of you mutters something about easy glory. Another one behind you spits into the dirt and says, "There's no such thing." You want to ask questions. How many of them are out there? What happens if we get cut off? Why does nobody seem sure of anything? But you don't ask. Because asking means thinking. And thinking means fear. So instead you just keep moving. Marching forward into land that doesn't want you. Past trees that lean too close. Past rivers that don't flow right. Past birds that don't sing, just scream. At midday you stop to rest. No shade, no cover. Just open sky and a sun that feels personal. You drink from your canteen. Warm water. Bitter. You try to ration it, but you already know it won't last the week. Someone opens a tin of bully beef. The smell hits you like a punch. You take a bite anyway. Chew, swallow, try not to gag. It tastes like salt, metal and fatigue. Your sergeant walks past, face like carved wood. "On your feet in 5, he says. No reaction, just men nodding, groaning, shifting their weight like cattle. You stand, bones creaking. The horizon ahead is flat, but your gut says otherwise. Then you hear it. Again. The drums. Not loud, not close, but present. Boom, boom, boom. Someone whispers, "Still watching us." Another man grips his rifle like it might explain what's coming. It doesn't. You march on. Hours pass. The heat becomes a second skin. Your thoughts begin to slow. Every step blurs into the next. You start to smell something different. Not rot. Not gunpowder. Smoke. The column halts. Officers ride ahead. You wait. And then you see it. The kraal burned. Charred fences. Huts collapsed into ash. Bodies. Not many, not fresh. You're told not to look, but you do. You always do. A woman. 2 children. No weapons. Just eyes open wide in the dirt as if they're still watching you. You feel the weight of it. The weight no one's talking about. Because this isn't victory. This isn't war. This is warning. Move on, someone says. You do. The next day you reach the base camp. Isandlwana. A strange hill, jagged, shaped like a lion's back. The officers say it's a good spot. Elevated, dry, defensible. The engineers unpack supplies. The quartermasters set up tents. And still no one digs in. You ask your corporal, "Why no trenches?" He shrugs. "No need. Zulu don't have artillery." You want to believe that answer, but something in you doesn't. You take first watch that night. The stars are brighter than you've ever seen. No city glow, no torchlight. Just sky, endless, empty. You sit with your back to a wagon wheel, rifle across your lap. Every sound makes you flinch. Every breeze sounds like breath. You hear the grass move. You stand, squinting. Nothing. Then the drums. Again, closer. Boom, boom, then silence. You wait for the beat to come again. It doesn't. The grass sways. You hold your breath. Nothing comes out of the dark. But the fear? It doesn't leave. You wake the next morning with your mouth full of dust and your body aching in ways that uniforms can't explain. The officers are arguing. The scouts are late. No one knows where the left column is. No one knows if the Zulu have split their forces. No one knows anything. Except this. Orders have come down. Half the men are marching out. Chelmsford is leading them into the hills to chase shadows. You're staying behind, guarding the camp. You want to feel lucky, but all closed. No trenches, no reinforcements, no scouts reporting back. Just 1,700 men. A hill, a pile of ammunition boxes, and the knowledge that if the enemy wanted to attack, they'd do it when half the force was gone. Someone near you says, "They won't come, they're afraid of us." You look back toward the tall grass, toward the place where the drums fell silent, and you think, no, they're not afraid. They're just waiting until we stop thinking they will. You wake to the sound of boots on packed earth, marching orders, again, but not for you. Half the camp is moving out Chelmsford, and the main column heading east to chase what the scouts called a Zulu impi on the move. They don't know how big it is. They don't know where it's going, but they know it's not here. So they leave. You watch them go row after row of redcoats, bayonets glinting in the morning sun, artillery wagons creaking under weight, Horsemen swatting flies with bored expressions. A lieutenant near you says they'll be back before supper. You don't believe him, and neither does he. The camp gets quiet. Not peaceful, just thinner. Like a curtain's been drawn back and someone forgot to close it again. You're ordered to patrol the perimeter. Just a loop around the base of the hill is Sandalwana. It looks different in the daylight. More than just a hill. More like a throne or a warning. The grass is tall again. Too tall? Shouldn't be that tall this close to a military camp. But no one's cut it back. No time, no manpower. You walk with your rifle slung low. Safety off. Eyes darting. Every rock looks like a head. Every bush looks like it's watching. You come across a pile of equipment dumped in a gully. Empty crates, broken boots, mouldy canvas. Supplies from a previous march, probably. Or from someone who never made it far enough to need them. A corporal joins you on patrol, older, quiet. He says, "They think this war's a picnic." You grunt. He spits into the grass and says, "Zulu don't fight like we do. They don't wait for bugles." You keep moving. The air gets heavier, like something is pressing down from above. Later, back at camp, you refill your canteen at a muddy basin. The water tastes like tin and insects. You drink it anyway. The sun climbs higher. Noon arrives like an accusation. And then everything changes. It starts with the rider. One man, alone, dust-caked, lathered horse. He gallops into the camp, nearly tramples a tent and dismounts like he's about to fall over. He's yelling. You can't hear all of it, but you catch the parts that matter. They're not east. They're here. They're here. They've been here all along. You freeze. The officers swarm him. He points toward the hills behind Sandalwana. You follow his finger. Nothing. Just haze and grass and heat. But then a flicker. Movement. You squint. It's not your imagination. Shapes. Dozens. No hundreds. Black shapes in the grass, rising like smoke. You grab your rifle. The others do too. No bugle, no whistle, just instinct. Form ranks. Get to the wagons. Get the ammo. It's chaos. Men running in every direction. Horses bucking. Pikemen fumbling with gear they were told they wouldn't need. Officers yelling orders that conflict and collide. You're shoved toward the right flank. No time to question. Just move. You're standing now in a long, broken line 150 yards across, thin and shallow. Not deep enough. Not strong enough. The officers say to spread out. The firepower will compensate. One bullet can stop 3 Zulu spearmen. That's the theory. You hope they're right. Someone next to you, a boy, maybe 18, is trying to fix his bayonet. His hands are shaking too hard. You help him. You don't say anything. Then the sound. Not a scream. Not a charge. Not drums. A hum. Low. Rhythmic. Thousands of voices chanting in unison. The ground starts to tremble. Then they appear. First just one, then 5, then a line. Then a wave. Dark figures crest the rise like a storm breaking over a hill. Shields in one hand, spears in the other. Some wearing head rings, others feathers, beads, red ochre. And they're not marching. They're running. Fast. The officers shout, "Hold fire! Hold fire!" You can't breathe. They're covering ground like ghosts. Wait. Wait. Fire! You fire. The crack of rifles explodes across the line. Martini Henrys roar. Smoke leaps from 100 barrels. You see Zulu drop, bodies flipping, twisting, hitting the dirt hard. Then another volley, and another. But they keep coming. They break into 3 groups left, right. center. You remember the words from training. The horns of the buffalo. They don't just charge, they surround. The right flank starts to buckle. You hear shouting, then screaming. They're in the grass now, close. Too close. You reload fumble. The brass casing's hot. You slam the breech, fire again. Another Zulu falls. You look left. The line is breaking. Too thin, too many. A shell explodes in the middle of the charge. Someone got the artillery going. It tears a hole in the impi. But not enough. They fill the gap before the smoke clears. A man next to you takes a spear in the chest. He gurgles, falls backward. You don't look down. You can't. You fire again. Reload. Fire. Then the worst sound of all. Click. You're out. You reach for another cartridge. The pouch is stuck. Your fingers are wet, slippery. You look down. Your hands are red. Yours. His. No time to find out. The Zulu are 30 yards away. Then 20. Then 10. And you realise you're not marching anymore. You're surviving. And the line between the two? Vanished somewhere in the tall grass. You can't see them anymore. Not clearly. Just movement flashes of red, black, white. Dust kicked up by thousands of feet. Smoke from the rifles. And that awful sound. Not the high-pitched, panicked kind. Not fear. This is different. This is rage. Zulu war cries loud, rhythmic, sharp, like they're meant to carve open your spine. You drop to one knee. Reload. Your fingers are trembling, but the training takes over. Pull the lever, cartridge in, snap it shut, fire. Again. 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 There's no command now. No line. Just clusters of men, some British, some native contingent, some too far away to tell, all trying to hold something that isn't there anymore. A defence that's come unstitched at the seams. You duck behind a wagon wheel. Bullets zing overhead. Not from rifles. Thrown spears. Shields clanging. Feet pounding. Then a whisper. From the grass behind you. You spin, rifle raised. Nothing. A shadow darts past. A shape. Too fast. Too close. You fire. Smoke. Screaming. You don't know if you hit anything. Then another whisper. Not English. Zulu. Too close. You fall backward. Boots slipping in the churned up red mud that used to be dry grass. You scramble. Another man stumbles beside you. Private Bell, or maybe Finch. You're not sure anymore. His helmet's gone, his arm's bleeding. His eyes are wide and keeps saying the same thing over and over. They were in the grass. In the grass, they came from the grass. You grab his sleeve. Try to pull him up. He slips. Goes down hard. Doesn't get back up. You don't check if he's alive. There's no time. You're running now. Not because anyone told you to, but because there's no one left to give orders. The camp is behind you. The hill to your left. You see officers mounting horses. Not to rally. To run. You hate them for it. Then you envy them. Then you just keep running. Ahead, more tall grass. More shapes moving through it. Not all of them human. A fire starts in one of the supply wagons. The canvas goes up in seconds. Black smoke rises like a flare or a funeral pyre. Maybe both. A voice calls from somewhere. Rally at the hill. Form up at the hill. But the hill is crawling with Zulu now. You see them dozens at first, then hundreds. Black shields, red feathers, spears glinting in the sun. They're not wild. They're not chaotic. They're deliberate, disciplined. They've done this before. You haven't. You try to cut around the flank, through the grass. Every step is a gamble. Every blade could hide an enemy, or a friend, or a body. You nearly trip over a soldier face down in the dirt. His rifle is clean, still loaded. He never fired. A noise to your left, a hiss like breath through teeth. You spin. Too late. A Zulu warrior is there. You don't see him fully, just the blur of movement, the shine of his skin, the flash of white cowhide around his shield. He lunges. You fall. His spear misses by inches. You fire from the ground. He jerks, falls on top of you. You scream. Shove him off. Get up. Your chest is heaving, Ras. Your hands are shaking. But you're alive. For now. You see a small ridge ahead. A few men are regrouping. You run toward them. When you get there, there's maybe 8 of you. 2 wounded. 1 completely silent, just staring into nothing. Someone says, "They've got the camp." Another, "We're cut off." Another, "Chelmsford's gone." You load another cartridge. Not because there's a target, just to feel like you're still part of something. The man next to you says, "We're gonna die here." You nod, because lying takes energy you don't have. And the voices in the grass? They're getting louder again. You grip your rifle, check the breech. Wipe sweat from your eyes, and try to remember what home smells like. But all you smell now is blood and smoke and trampled grass. And all you hear is the grass whispering, "We're not done yet." Night falls like a hammer. Fast, heavy, no warning. The sun doesn't set, here it drops, like it's abandoning you. You're crouched near a shallow rise with what's left of your unit. 8 men, maybe 9. 1 hasn't spoken since midday. You don't know if it's shock or something worse. Nobody asks. There's no tent, no real shelter. Just a circle of battered, sunburned men trying to pretend the darkness isn't pressing in from all sides. You light a small fire. Not for heat, it's still stifling, but for something to look at, something to keep your hands busy. The fire cracks and hisses, chewing through damp brush and sticks that smell like rot. It throws shadows against the rocks, and every time one of them moves, you reach for your rifle. One of the men, Jenkins, maybe pulls out a piece of hardtack, breaks it with his teeth like he's angry at it. He doesn't chew, just lets it sit in his mouth like it's the only thing keeping him grounded. You pass around a flask. Someone's rum ration, hoarded and finally surrendered. It tastes like regret and warm copper. But it burns the fear for a few seconds, so nobody complains. You can hear them out there, the Zulu. Not speaking, not moving through the grass. Chanting, low, rhythmic. It comes and goes with the wind, and every time it comes back it's a little closer. They're not charging, not attacking. They're waiting, like they know the night is on their side. Like they want the silence to get under your skin and start digging. And it does. One of the younger privates whispers, "You think we'll get out of this?" No one answers, because everyone already has. In their heads. You've all played the tape forward, and you've seen the ending. It doesn't look good. You poke at the fire. Watch sparks drift upward like tiny souls trying to flee. Your boots are still soaked. Your legs ache like they've been filled with wet cement. Your shoulders bruised from the rifle kick. Your back is rubbed raw from the pack you ditched hours ago but still feel like a ghost limb. Someone mutters, "Should have stayed in Durban." Another says, "Should have stayed in England." A third just chuckles, low and joyless. "Should have stayed in bed." It gets quiet again. Too quiet. That's the worst part of it. The not knowing. You're not sure what you're listening for anymore. A war cry? A footstep? The click of a spear haft brushing against a shield? Your nerves are wound tight. Tighter than your rifle sling. Every gust of wind makes you clench your jaw. Every rustle sounds like it has teeth. The fire's low now. You don't feed it. It's better this way. Harder for them to see you. Easier for you to disappear. Somewhere out in the dark, a dog barks. A real one. Not yours, not anyone's. Just a wild mongrel caught in the same hell as you. You envy it. No uniform. No rifle. No orders. Just instinct. You lean back against your pack and stare up. The stars are bright. Too bright. Like they're watching, judging. You wonder if anyone back home is looking up at the same sky. If someone is thinking of you. If they even know where you are. If they ever will. You pull out your bayonet. Not to use, just to feel the weight of it. You run your thumb along the edge. Not sharp, not really, but enough. You think, if they come tonight, do I run? Do I fight? Do I die with a full cartridge belt? Or do I take some of them with me? And then you think something else. Something worse. What if they don't come? What if you just sit here, listening, waiting, until the silence eats you alive? Jenkins finally speaks. Low, soft. I dreamed of fire last night. You look over. He's staring into the embers. Saw it rising behind us. Didn't make a sound. Just burned. Like it was alive. No one says anything. What do you say to that? He shrugs. Woke up with my hand on my throat. Thought someone was choking me, but it was just the dream. You nod. Because you've had one too. Different scene. Same message. This isn't a battle. This is a grave being dug in real time. And you're standing ankle deep in it. Someone starts to hum. A lullaby. Off key. Too soft to recognize. It's not soothing. It's haunting. You check your rifle one more time. Wipe down the breech. Load a single round, close it slow. Click. The sound feels louder than it should. Like it announces something. Like the next thing to happen. Will change everything. You lie down in the dirt. No blanket, no pillow. Just your helmet under your head and your rifle across your chest. You close your eyes. But sleep doesn't come. Only the whisper of the grass. And the quiet promise that sometime before dawn, it will all go wrong. It starts with a bird. One sharp cry. Too loud. Too sudden. Then silence. The kind that doesn't belong. Your eyes snap open. The fire's dead. The stars are gone. Clouds have rolled in like a lid on a coffin. Around you the men stir. No one speaks. Everyone feels it. The air is thick. Like soup. Like sweat. Like warning. Your mouth tastes like iron and dust. Your hand finds your rifle without thinking, wouldn't it? You sit up slow. You listen. Then crack. One shot. Single, clean, distant. But not that distant. You freeze. The others do too. A beat. 2. 3. Then shouting. Far off. Sharp. British voices panicked. Zulu cries answering. Then another shot. Then 3 more. Then too many to count. You're on your feet before your brain catches up. Your boots sink into damp earth. You taste rain before you feel it. Someone shouts. Up, get up, they're coming. You hear the word skirmishers. You hear horns flanking. You hear too fast, too fast. You move toward the camp, stumbling, rifle half raised, eyes scanning the dark. You see flashes ahead, muzzle bursts in the night. Smoke lit orange by chaos. Figures running. Some toward you. Some away. You pass a corporal yelling orders. No one's listening. Everyone's moving. You stop behind an overturned wagon. Drop to a knee. Level your rifle. You can't see the enemy, not clearly, but they're out there. Shadows in the mist. Footfalls on soaked grass. Cries that sound more like a heartbeat than a language. You fire. The shot kicks hard. Vanishes into the dark. You don't know if it hit anything. You reload. Faster this time. Around you, others do the same. No formation. No line. Just scattered men in red coats and mud, shooting at shapes that move too fast and too smart. A volley erupts from behind a ridge, organised, disciplined. That's not your men. That's them. The Zulu. They're not charging headlong. They're creeping. Testing. Closing in like smoke. You move right, crawling over wet rocks and discarded packs. A man grabs your ankle, wild-eyed, bleeding from the scalp. "Where's the reserve line?" he gasps. You shake your head. There isn't one. Not anymore. He lets go. Lays back. Doesn't move again. You reach a slight rise. Peer over and see it. The camp. Your camp. In flames. Ammunition boxes burning. Tents shredded. Figures moving in between some fighting. Some just running. The ridge is lost. The flanks are gone. You see men surrounded, cut down before they can even raise their rifles. You want to charge down. You want to help, but there's no front line anymore. Just points of dying light in a sea of dark. Someone shouts behind you. You spin. 4 men. British. Retreating from the far slope. Fall back. Regroup at the rocks. You go with them. Not because it's smart. Because it's something. You cross the field you stood on yesterday. The one where the officers promised no attack would come. It's soaked now. Blood and rain. And something else. Fear. Like the earth itself is scared. You reach a small outcrop. A dozen men already there. Some wounded. Some staring into nothing. One officer with a torn sash and a shattered pistol. He nods at you. Good. We can hold here. You want to believe him, but you don't. You look out again, and there, not 50 yards away, they rise. Zulu MP. Shields lifted. Spears poised. Not yelling. Just watching. Then one steps forward. He lifts his spear. Not to throw, to point. And like a tide breaking loose, they run. All of them. Toward you. You fire. The others do too. The ridge lights up with cracks and smoke. You see men drop. Then others behind them just leap over the bodies. They don't stop. They never stop. They reach the rocks. You fall back. Firing, screaming, scrambling. Someone yells, "Fix bayonets!" You do. Hands trembling. Blade slips. You ram it into place. They're here. A Zulu leaps the ridge, lands on Jenkins, drives a spear down, twice, 3 times. You shoot him point blank. He jerks back, falls. Jenkins doesn't move. You backpedal, slip, catch yourself. Another warrior comes around the side too close. You swing your rifle like a club, miss. He slashes. You feel the sting across your arm. You thrust. Bayonet catches ribs. He grabs your shoulder. You scream. He screams louder. You both fall. Another shot from behind. The Zulu stiffens. Goes limp. You shove him off. Try not to throw up. The officer's still shouting. Form up. Keep firing. But the line is breaking. They're coming through the smoke now. Fast. Silent. Efficient. You've never seen anything like it. Not madness. Not frenzy. Execution. This isn't battle. This is dismantling. and above it all the sky begins to glow. Orange, from tents burning, from the fires lit by death. And somewhere in that fire you hear the echo of that first shot, still bouncing off the hill, still marking the beginning of the end. This isn't war. Not the kind you were promised. Not lines and volleys. Not gallantry or banners or bugles. This is something older. Something raw. You're not part of a battle anymore. You're caught inside a storm, and it has teeth. You're falling back not in order, not with commands. Just falling. Because every man around you is doing the same. Because standing means dying. And dying right now feels too easy. The hill looms behind you, the great lion-shaped rock of Isandlwana. And you think, maybe if you get higher, you'll be safe. Maybe if you climb, you'll see something that helps this make sense. A plan, a gap, a miracle. You don't find any of those. Just more chaos. You scramble up the rocky slope, boots slipping, breath short. Rifle slung, bayonet fixed. Your hands bleed from sharp edges and splintered crates. The air is thick with dust and smoke and noise, so much noise. Cries in Zulu, shouts in English, orders that go nowhere. Warnings shouted too late. You look down from the slope, and what you see makes your stomach drop. The camp is gone. Not in flames, not yet. But overrun, swarmed. The white tents are collapsing, trampled by waves of black shields and panicked red coats. Wagons overturned, mules screaming. Men fleeing, dying, vanishing into the smoke. They came from the hills, you're told. They were there all along, hidden in dead ground. Thousands of them. They waited, watched. Let Chelmsford march away, then attacked what was left. And what was left was you. Someone beside you fires. The sound is deafening. Another shot, then another. Your rifle's still loaded. You aim. Fire. Reload. Again. Again. They keep coming. Not because they're crazy. Not because they're desperate. Because they're winning. And they know it. You turn to check the line. There's no line. Just clusters of men scattered along the slope, shooting, shouting, some crying, some already praying. A young officer screams at a retreating group to stand fast. They don't listen. He draws his sword. Useless gesture. A spear strikes him clean through the side. He doesn't scream, just drops, like someone unplugged him. You blink. The moment burns itself into your memory, and then it's gone, replaced by the next, and the next. You fire at shapes moving through the brush below. A Zulu rises 10 feet away. You shoot him. He falls backward without a sound. You barely feel anything. Your shoulder is bruised raw from the rifle's kick. Your throat is dry. Your cartridge belt is half empty. Your heart is doing something new, not panic, not fear, resignation. You think, this is what it's like. This is how it ends. Not in a charge, not in a blaze of glory, but one desperate shot at a time until the rifle clicks, and there's nothing left but steel and instinct. A runner from the camp stumbles past you, bleeding down one leg. He mutters something. You catch the words ammunition and stuck. He's right. The ammo boxes, they weren't opened. Or they were, but slowly. Because the keys were with an officer who's probably dead now. Because the procedure was made for peacetime. Because someone somewhere believed this would never happen. You scream for more rounds. Nobody hears you. Everyone's screaming. You drop behind a rock. Pull your last few cartridges. Count them. 7, you think. 7 shots. 7 names. Maybe 7 seconds. You peek over. 3 Zulu rush past, not even seeing you. They're chasing someone else. You aim. Fire. One drops. The others turn. You scramble back. Hide. Reload. Your fingers fumble. You fire blind. You don't know if you hit anything. You don't care. Someone grabs your arm, Harris. Somehow still alive. Face ash grey. Bayonet missing. His eyes wild. He shouts, "It's over! They've broken the centre!" You nod. Of course they have. The centre was just hope held together with noise. He says, "We've got to get out across the plain, toward the river." You nod again. You know this too. You knew it before he said it. Because this hill won't save you. Not now. Not with the horns wrapping around from both sides. You both move. Down the other side of the slope. Not toward victory. Toward escape. You pass bodies. So many. British, Zulu. Some locked together in death like statues. Some still breathing, too wounded to scream. You don't stop. You can't. This is retreat, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels like being born again out of fire through ash, chased by ghosts. You think, the battle has started, but it's already over. You're not holding ground. You're surviving its collapse. And the name is Sandalwana, you don't know it yet. But it will be remembered. Not as a victory, not as a defence. As a warning. A redcoat's nightmare. A black shield's triumph. A place where the Empire thought it was untouchable. And learned otherwise. You're not running. You're not marching. You're escaping. Through thorns, over rocks, into heat that feels alive. The hill is behind you now, but the horror follows. You hear them in the grass. Not footsteps. Rhythm. Breath. The thud of bare feet moving as one, not scattered, not panicked, orchestrated. You heard the phrase once, back in training. The horns of the buffalo. It sounded clever. Almost poetic. Now it's real. And it's closing in. The chest already smashed your lines. Now the horns are swinging around, curling in from both sides, wrapping, trapping, tightening. You see it from the ridge too late, too fast. You and Harris cut down slope, sliding, crashing through brush. No path, no direction, just away. You hear shouts behind you, British, then Zulu. Then a single rifle shot, then a scream, then silence. You don't look back. Every breath tastes like copper and dust. Your legs burn. Your throat is a dry wound. Your boots feel like they're filled with boiling tar. Toward the river, someone screams. You don't know who. You follow the voice anyway. There's no formation now. Just clumps of men here and there, all doing the same thing. Fleeing. A mounted officer gallops past, sabre out, face pale. He yells something about the natal carbineers, about regrouping, but he's alone. No unit, no reinforcements, just a man trying to outrun the facts. The Zulu aren't chasing you like madmen. They're cutting you off. They know the terrain. They've done this before. They run faster than you, and quieter. And when they appear, it's never where you're looking. Harris shouts, "Left! Left!" You spin just as a warrior breaks from the brush spear raise, shield out. You fire from the hip. Smoke and recoil slam you backward. He stumbles, falls. You don't check. You reload. Again. Again. 5 shots left. You keep moving. Up ahead the ridge falls away. A slope down toward a dry gully, and beyond that, the plain. Flat, wide, and on the far end trees that might mean water. Maybe the Buffalo River. Maybe salvation. Or maybe just a prettier place to die. You tumble down the slope. Land hard. Ankle twists, pain flares up your leg. You hiss but get up. There's no stopping now. Stopping is death. Sitting is death. Even thinking is death. You keep moving. More men join you. Not many. 8, 10, faces you don't know. Uniforms torn. Some barefoot. One without a rifle, just carrying a rock. The Zulu are closing in behind. You can hear their chants. Not loud. Measured. And it terrifies you more than screaming ever could. One man ahead trips. Falls face first into the dust. No one helps him. You don't know his name. He doesn't cry out. He just stops moving. You cross the gully. Slide down one side, scramble up the other. You're not sure your legs will hold. They barely do. At the crest you look back. St. One is shrouded in smoke. The hill looms like a tombstone. Everything between it and you is chaos tents burning, men dying and Zulu warriors sweeping through the remains like a tide made of fire and bone. Harris grabs your arm. Come on, we can make it, yeah? You nod. Lie. You don't think you can make it, but you go anyway. Because that's all there is. Go or die. You follow a game trail through low brush. The air is thicker now. Humidity rising. Flies biting. You hear a burst of shots to your right, a small group trying to hold. Then the shouting starts. Then it stops. You reach a rocky rise and look down. And there, glinting through the haze, the river. Wide, slow. Too wide to cross fast. Too slow to save you. You start running again. Your legs scream. Your back feels broken. You've lost count of how many men are left. A shell-shocked trooper runs past you, sobbing, no weapon in his hands. He doesn't see the Zulu waiting in the grass ahead. They rise, 4 of them, spears ready. He doesn't even scream. Just folds. You stop. Aim. Fire. One goes down. The others vanish into the bush. You reload. Faster now. You're not scared anymore. You're beyond scared. You're empty. Cold. Dangerous. Harris points to the river. We go now. You nod. Together you crash through the last stretch of brush. Thorns tear your sleeves. Your rifle gets snagged. You leave it. You're at the riverbank now. Muddy. Steep. Bodies float near the edge, some in red, some in white. Some missing faces. You leap into the water. It's not cold enough. Nothing is. You swim, paddle, kick. The current isn't strong, but your muscles are weak, half dead. You start to sink. A hand grabs your collar, pulls. Harris. You cough, choke, keep moving. You crawl out the other side, collapse in the mud. You're shaking, bleeding. Half your kit is gone. Your rifle is gone. Your pride long gone. But you're breathing. And you realise. You escaped the horns. You survived the chest. But the cost? It's still coming. You look back across the river. Smoke rises from the hill. From the camp. From the men you left behind. And somewhere in the breeze, faint but clear, you hear the elating call of victory. Not yours, theirs. It's not the shooting that breaks you. It's the waiting. The moment when your rifle is empty, and your hands fumble for more cartridges, and there's nothing in your pouch but dust and dread. That moment, that 1 second too long, is when the fear becomes something else. Panic. You're back on the ridge now. Not by choice, by confusion, by instinct, by the stupidity of survival. You didn't make it to the river. Not yet. A runner shouted something. "Hold the centre! Hold the centre!" And before you could think, your boots were dragging you back. Back toward the noise. Toward the smoke. Toward the dying. And now, here you are. Low behind a wagon wheel, gun pressed tight against your shoulder, sweat dripping into your eyes. And your ammo's almost gone. The others are shouting, calling for cartridges, calling for orders, calling for anyone to tell them what the hell to do next. But the officers are gone, dead or vanished. The chain of command snapped somewhere between the tent lines and the first volley. You see a sergeant crawling through the dust. His face is red with blood, with fury, maybe both. He slams his hand against an ammo crate. Locked. Of course it is. Because the keys are with a quartermaster who took a spear in the chest 20 minutes ago. Because the procedure was made for parade grounds, not for panicked men dying in rows. You watch as another soldier grabs a crowbar and tries to force the box open. It splinters. Not enough. He curses, slams it again. Again. The box finally pops and spills cartridges into the dirt like gold coins. Men die for them like beggars. You crawl forward, grab 2 handfuls, shove them into your pouch. They're warm, greasy, covered in sand. You don't care. You load, your hands shake. Not from fear anymore, from exhaustion. Your fingers are blistered, your thumb is raw. Every motion feels like it's tearing something loose inside your chest. You stand. Fire. A Zulu drops. You fire again. Another falls, but 5 more keep coming. You reload. Again. The bolt jams. You slam it with your fist. The barrel's hot. Too hot. You smell burning oil. Or maybe flesh. The man next to you fires once, then fumbles, screaming, clutching his eye. The rifle exploded in his hands. He goes down. You don't help him. You can't. And another rush, this one from the left. You pivot. Fire. Fire. Click. You duck behind a crate. Dig through your pouch. 3 rounds left. You hear someone screaming for more ammo. You see a boy barely shaving running back and forth with a bag of cartridges. You wave. He sees you. He's almost there. Then he jerks. Stops. Blood erupts from his back. He collapses. The cartridges scatter across the dirt. Gone. You feel something crack in your mind. Like glass under boot leather. You want to run, but your feet don't listen. You want to reload, but your fingers won't move fast enough. You want to breathe, but your chest is locked. Panic is here now, full-bodied, heavy. It's not loud. It's still. Still like drowning. Still like a scream buried under water. Around you the line is collapsing. Men falling back. Men throwing rifles and swinging bayonets. Men running. Some alone. Some in groups. Some with their backs to the enemy, screaming like children lost in a crowd. You reload with fingers that barely remember how. Fire. Miss. Fire again. Miss again. They're too close. Too fast. Too many. You're not aiming anymore. You're just reacting. And somewhere in your mind a voice is whispering, this is it. This is the moment they warned us about. This is how the Empire loses. Not with a surrender. Not with a flag. But with empty rifles and locked boxes and too many names carved into the same rock. You grab another cartridge. Last one. You fire it. Then you throw the rifle aside. Bayonet out. No time to fix it. Just grip it like a dagger. The Zulu warrior charges, shield up, eyes wide, spear raised. You meet him halfway. You don't think. You can't. You swing. Steel hits wood. Glances off. He lunges. You fall. You stab upward, hit something soft. He howls. Falls on top of you. You shove. Roll. Scream. Another shadow rises behind you. Then another. And you know this is it. You're done. You close your eyes, but the blow never comes. A rifle cracks. The shadow jerks, falls. A hand grabs your arm, Harris. Eyes wild, face red. Move, he shouts. You move. No rifle, just the bayonet in your hand, and a pouch full of nothing. You run, because at the end of the day, ammo runs out. Plans fall apart, lines break. But panic finds a way to survive. Even if you don't. The last cartridge is gone. You fired it without aiming. Didn't even see where it went. Could have hit someone. Could have hit nothing. It doesn't matter now. What matters is the feel of your bayonet in your hand, not fixed to your rifle, just gripped like a knife. What matters is that you're still breathing and you're still standing. And for the next minute, maybe less, you still have a say in how this ends. Around you, the battlefield isn't a battlefield anymore. It's a butcher's yard. There are no more lines, no more volleys, no more bugles, only men. And what's left of them? Blood-soaked sleeves, broken weapons, eyes wide with the kind of fear that doesn't scream, it just shakes. The ridge is behind you. The river's too far, and the Zulu? They're everywhere now, moving like wind through grass, rushing in waves, backlit by smoke and sun like warriors from another world. You don't run. You don't charge. You just move. Slow. Deliberate. You step over a fallen comrade, no name, no rank. Just the dead expression of someone who saw it coming and couldn't stop it. You find a rifle in the dirt. Bent barrel. No use. You find another snapped in half. Then a third Martini Henry, stock cracked, breech open. One round inside. Your breath catches. You drop to a knee. Snatch it up. Check the sights. They're still usable. You slam the breech shut. Stand. A Zulu is charging. Spear out. Eyes locked to yours. You raise the rifle. Sight him. Breathe. And fire. It hits. Hard. He folds before he reaches you. You lower the weapon. Look at the breech. Empty. That's it. Your last round. And now the real fighting begins. You grip the rifle like a club. A man beside you. British. Older. Blood down his sleeve, looks at your weapon and gives you a nod. He raises his own. No bayonet. No ammo. Just intent. The two of you stand shoulder to shoulder as the next wave comes. 3 Zulu. Shields up. No hesitation. You swing. He swings. One of them goes down. You're tackled. Hit the ground. Hand scrabbling in the dirt. Your bayonet slips. You grab a rock instead. You smash it into the face of the man on top of you. Once. Twice. 3 times. He stops moving. You roll. Spit blood. Yours. Theirs. Doesn't matter. You stand. Another comes. You swing the broken rifle. It shatters on his shield. You fall back. Then a bullet cracks the air beside your head. From behind, one of your own. The Zulu drops. You glance back, see a man with a revolver. Empty belt. He salutes, then runs. You turn again. There's nowhere to go. You and maybe 6 others, that's it. A few scattered figures, none in formation, all bleeding, all spent. You regroup at a slight rise. Not cover, just a place to stop falling back. One of the men is crying. Another is laughing. You just breathe. There's movement in the grass. A shadow. Then another. No time for speeches. No orders. You all raise what weapons you have. Clubs. Knives. Broken rifles. Bayonets gripped like stakes. And then they come. Fast. Low. screaming now, not from rage, from certainty. They know they've won. This is the clean-up, the mopping of blood. But you don't give it to them easy. You lunge, you scream, you fight. It's not strategy. It's not tactics. It's refusal. Refusal to go quietly. Refusal to be forgotten. Refusal to let the Empire pretend you weren't here. You stab. You swing. You fall. You rise again. You don't think about home. You don't think about medals. You don't think about God. You just think, this is where it ends. Let it end loud. You take one down, then another. Then a spear catches your leg, you drop. Pain, shock, not fear. Not anymore. Hands grab you. You swing. The grip is lost. You crawl, mud in your mouth, blood in your eyes. Then a silence. Not total, just different. You blink. The Zulu are backing off. Why? You glance around. Not many left. 3, maybe 4 of you. One of them is Harris. Still alive. Barely. He looks at you. You look at him. You don't say anything. Because what is there left to say? No more rounds. No more plans. Just men ragged and shaking standing where a camp used to be. The field is silent, except for the wind and the flies, and somewhere under it all the sound of someone softly sobbing. You don't know who, might be you. You sit down in the dirt, look at your hands, still trembling, still alive. Somehow, and you think, I fought to the last round, and now? Now there's only what comes next, if anything comes at all. The gun's gone silent. The screaming has faded, and the air hangs like it's holding its breath. You don't move. Not because you can't, though your body is broken in places you haven't even discovered yet, but because you don't want to be the first one to move in this new, terrible quiet. You sit there in the dirt, near the crest of a hill that now smells like ash and meat. Your hands are stiff, your legs numb, your thoughts drifting like smoke from the broken wagons. The camp, if it can still be called that, is a charred skeleton. Tents ripped to ribbons, wagons overturned and picked clean, ammunition crates broken open like fruit, and everywhere, bodies, British, Zulu, men with no more stories. You stand, slowly, carefully, the way a man stands when he doesn't know if he still has the right. There's no one giving orders, no line to reform, no bugle call to signal victory. Because there is no victory here, just survival, if that even counts. You limp past what used to be the supply line. A mule lies split open. Flies cloud around its body in thick, buzzing halos. 2 soldiers are there, or what's left of them. You recognize one. He shared water with you 3 days ago. You don't remember his name. You never asked. He's been laid out carefully. Someone tried to give him dignity. Closed his eyes. Folded his hands. But there's no priest. No rites. Just the wind through the grass and the slow, methodical arrival of the vultures. Further down the slope you find a cluster of Zulu bodies, piled deep, dozens. Their shields are scattered like leaves, their spears clumped in the mud. They died close, face to face. You can still see the expressions, still read the fury, the pride, the silence of death. You lower your eyes, not out of shame, not anymore, out of respect. They fought with everything, not just weapons, purpose. You walk further, every step aches. The sun has begun its slow fall, turning everything red and gold. You pass a chaplain, kneeling beside a fallen officer, whispering something you can't hear. It doesn't matter. The officer's chest is open to the bone. Words won't fix that. On the far side of the hill you see them survivors. Maybe a dozen, maybe more. They're digging. Not for water. Not for treasure. For graves. Shallow ones. No markers. Just holes in the earth that will be forgotten before the month is out. A corporal waves you over. You shake your head. You don't have the strength. Not yet. You need to sit. To breathe. You find a spot under the skeleton of a shattered wagon. You sit. You listen. The veld is alive again. Birds calling. Crickets humming. Like nothing happened. Like the land has already moved on. But you haven't. Not even close. Someone sits beside you. Harris. Still alive. He hands you a canteen. You drink. It tastes like smoke. He says nothing. You say nothing. What is there to say? That you lived? So what? Thousands didn't. Friends, strangers, enemies you never met. You wonder if Chelmsford knows yet, if he's seen the smoke, if he feels it, that weight in the air, the taste of failure. You wonder if London will know, if they'll print the names, if they'll tell the truth. They won't. You know they won't. They'll say you stood proud, that you held the line, that the empire marches on. But you were here, you saw it, felt it, smelled it. This wasn't gallantry. This was loss. This was being unmade. You hear footsteps. A young soldier, barely older than a boy, walks past carrying a pickaxe. His hands shake. His face is blank. He passes you without a word. You look out at the field again, and you realise this isn't over. Not for the Empire, not for you. There will be another battle, another column, another war. But Isandlwana, it stays, in your bones, in the dirt, in the stories told around campfires for the rest of your life. You lean back, look up at the sky. The clouds are turning gold now, and for just a moment, you let your eyes close. You survived the battle, but surviving the memory? That's going to take the rest of your life. At first, you think the silence is a blessing, a mercy, but it isn't. It's a weight, a sound that presses against your ears like cotton soaked in blood. Because after what you've seen, silence doesn't mean peace. It means absence. No more bullets, no more screaming, no more orders or bugles or the heavy drum of boots. Just nothing. You move through the remains of Isandlwana like a ghost. Not walking, not running, just drifting, one step at a time through what used to be a camp. Now it's a grave. And you're not sure which you're the buried or the one burying. There's no music, no prayer, just the wind carrying the buzz of flies and the soft creak of canvas folding in on itself. Once white tents now streaked with ash and blood. Wagon wheels cracked. Shields everywhere round, oval, cowhide, some British, most not. Scattered like leaves in the aftermath of a storm. Bodies lie in every direction, some clutching rifles, some still frozen mid-crawl. Some stripped by the victors, some untouched, waiting for a name. You see one soldier, a boy, 18 maybe, half his face missing, the other half calm. He's holding a locket, still clenched in his fingers. You don't open it. You don't need to. Whatever was inside died with him. Further on, a line of Zulu corpses lies across the hill like a fallen tide. They came in force, disciplined, relentless, and they died by the hundreds. But they died on your ground, their war, their rules. You reach what's left of the command tent. It's collapsed. Papers flutter like dying birds. A map torn in half shows a line through the heart of Zululand. You wonder if the officers who drew it ever actually looked at this place, understood what they were invading, knew what would be waiting. You doubt it. Isandlwana wasn't lost because the enemy was savage. It was lost because the Empire was arrogant. And now that arrogance has been paid for in blood and shame, you hear a shovel, metal biting earth. You follow the sound. On a slope 3 men are digging graves. Shallow, fast, not enough. There are too many dead and not enough hours in the day. Not enough strength in the survivors. You join them, wordless. You grab a spade, start to dig. The ground is hard, packed with roots, stones, history, but you dig anyway. Each scrape of metal against soil echoes like a confession. Behind you, the Zulu have begun to gather, not to attack, to mourn. They sing, low, mournful, a song not of victory but of recognition. For they're dead, for yours, for the field that holds them now, brothers in blood, if not in name. You stop digging. Watch. They move among the fallen, placing stones, offering prayers, whispers. You recognize none of the words, but the meaning? The meaning is carved into their faces. There's no hatred here, no triumph, only the solemn understanding of what war really costs. You sit. A Zulu elder walks past you. He doesn't sneer, doesn't nod. He just walks, like you're both walking through the same nightmare, bound by the same silence. You sit in it for a while. Let the wind speak. Let the land breathe. In the far distance smoke rises. Rorke's Drift, maybe, or the next fight. Because it never ends. But here, for this moment, there is stillness. You stand again. Walk down to the base of the hill. Look up. Isandlwana, the lion-shaped hill. Silent now. But roaring in your memory, you hear its voice, not in sound but in truth. You hear it say, "You are not ready, and I do not forgive the proud." You turn away, not in shame, not in fear, just in silence, because you've learned the lesson. And silence is how it speaks. You don't march out of Isandlwana. You crawl out, in pieces, in silence, covered in more dust than dignity. There is no formation, no column, no rhythm in the step of the broken. Just a slow trickle of men, like water draining from a shattered vessel. Some walk, some limp, some are carried. Some never left the field at all. You are one of the lucky ones. But it doesn't feel like luck. It feels like a punishment you don't understand yet. Your boots are ruined. Your pack is half empty. Your hands won't stop shaking and your mouth tastes like leather and smoke. Your rifle is gone. Somewhere in the tall grass, beneath a pile of bodies, or still clenched in your fist in some dream you haven't woken from yet. You're not alone. Harris is still here. He walks beside you limping, eyes distant, blood dried down the side of his face. Neither of you speak. There's nothing to say. A few paces ahead, a young soldier stumbles and falls. A sergeant reaches for him too late. The boy doesn't get up. His breath rattles, then stops. No one cries. No one closes his eyes. You just walk around him. Because the line has become a graveyard, and your footsteps are the prayers. You look back once. Isandlwana is fading behind you. Still visible, still tall, still watching. Smoke curls upward. black and thin like a finger pointing blame at the sky. You feel it a pull, the urge to go back, to do something, help someone, finish something that was never finished, but you keep walking. Because you're told to, because you have to, because turning around now means staying forever. The path ahead is rough, ruts carved deep by wagons that will never return. Dry grass stained with blood. The vultures have come down now. They don't flinch at your presence. They know who owns this land today. You pass a horse breathing shallow in the ditch. Its legs are broken. Its rider is nowhere to be seen. You meet its eye. For a second you see your own reflection wide-eyed and hollow. Then you keep moving. The sun beats down, cruel and bright. No clouds, no wind. There is no honour guard. No banners trailing in the breeze. Only smoke in your lungs and the sound of dry boots dragging through dust. Somewhere, a bugle call rings out. False. Empty. You think, too late. Too damned late. Someone passes a water flask. You sip. Warm. Tastes like metal. You hand it back without thanks. Pass more dead. British. Zulu. Scattered together like spilled chess pieces, no longer black and white, just red. You think of home. Not in vivid pictures, just fragments. The colour green. Rain on a rooftop. A voice saying your name without urgency. That world feels so far away now, it might as well be fiction. Ahead, the trail winds down toward the river. You hear the rumours. Rorke's Drift still holds. A few men, outnumbered, fighting like demons. You wonder if you'll reach it, if there's anything left of it, if the war is done or if this was just the opening line of something much, much worse. Someone asks how far it is to safety. No one answers, because no one believes in safe anymore. Not after today. You reach a bend in the trail. Ahead, a broken fence. An abandoned kraal. A burned supply cart with charred wheels still smoking. You stop. Sit on a rock. Behind you, men keep walking. Eyes on the horizon. Feet dragging. A few glance your way. Most don't. You don't blame them. You're not a soldier anymore. You're a shadow wearing a red coat. You close your eyes. Listen. Nothing. No birds. No drums. No hooves. Just the breath of the land and the whisper of dust. And it whispers, you left the battlefield. But the battlefield never left you. You get up. Adjust what's left of your belt. And walk. Not toward victory. Not toward glory. Just away. One step. Then another. And the dust follows. You see it before you hear it. A flicker of whitewashed walls beyond the brush. Low. Rectangular. Humble. Not a fortress. Not a fort. A mission station. That's all it is. Or all it was before the war turned it into a final stand. You and the others crest the ridge in silence. No cheers. No flags. Just men standing where they shouldn't still be standing. Rorke's Drift. Still there. Still holding. Smoke drifts from the roof. Black smudges stain the outer walls. Spears litter the ground. But the Union Jack still flutters. Tattered but up. And in this war, still up means still alive. You don't run toward it. You don't wave. You walk. Slow. Careful. Like approaching a church after a funeral. Because what lies inside Rorke's Drift, it's not victory. It's survival wrapped in a shroud. As you get closer, you see them the defenders. 30? 40 maybe? Hard to count through these smoke and dust and bandages. faces blackened with soot, eyes ringed with fatigue. Every one of them standing like a statue propped up by nothing but will. Sandbags piled high. Mealie bags and biscuit boxes turned to barricades. A final line built from desperation and dry rations. A voice calls out from the perimeter, "Who goes there?" You stop. Raise your hands. A sergeant squints from behind a crate. Where from? You say one word. Isandlwana. The silence that follows is heavy. He nods. Nothing else needs saying. You cross into the station. Inside it's worse. The hospital building scorched, windows shattered, one side black with soot. The door is gone. Inside, blood still coats the floor in dried swirls. You step over a broken stretcher, overturned chairs, shattered glass. The smell is familiar now. Burnt wood, rot, sweat, metal, and a quiet undercurrent of fear that hasn't quite left. You find a bench. Sit. Harris sits beside you, both of you too tired to notice you're sitting on a crate of dried beef. One of the defenders, maybe 19, walks past holding a revolver like it's part of his arm. He's wearing a bandage that looks weeks old, even though it was likely applied last night. He nods. You nod back. No salute. No sir. Just the acknowledgement of men who walked through fire and didn't stop burning. Another man sits down near you. Blank stare. His hands are shaking so hard the bullets in his pouch rattle like coins. He whispers, "They came all night, wave after wave." You believe him, because you saw what came in daylight. And the night only makes it worse. A corporal is piling bodies outside the gate. Some covered, some not. The sun is beginning to hit them, and already the flies are thick. You hear a priest muttering prayers, then giving up, then lighting a pipe instead. A small boy, a native, carries a pail of water from the river. He doesn't speak. Just walks from one man to the next. You drink from it. Warm. Algae flavoured. You finish every drop. No one talks about tactics. No one speaks of gallantry or glory. They speak in fragments now. Jones held the corner. They lit the roof. I thought that was it. Then he came back with the bayonet. You listen, not because you want to, but because their story is now yours too. You look down at your hands, bruised, burnt, shaking, still attached, still functioning. A miracle. You hear someone laugh, sharp, almost maniacal. He's alone in the corner, bayonet across his lap. Socks, but no boots. He keeps repeating, "They never broke through, they never broke through." And you believe him. Because somehow, this pile of biscuits and bravery held. Where Isandlwana fell in hours, Rorke's drift stood through the night. Not because it was stronger, not because it was smarter, but because here men made the decision that if they were going to die, they were going to die loud. A soldier offers you a biscuit. You take it. Chew slowly. It tastes like sawdust and ash. Best thing you've eaten in 2 days. Outside the wall, an officer is writing something. Names, numbers, a report that will go to London. To generals, to Parliament. But that report won't capture this. Not the smell, not the eyes, not the silence when it's all done and you realise you're still breathing. You lean back, close your eyes, feel the sun on your face. You survived Isandlwana. You made it to Rorke's Drift. But the war isn't over. The story isn't over. The Empire will call this a turning point, a rebound, a triumph. But you know better. This isn't triumph. This is aftermath. This is the edge between one nightmare and the next. The paper is creased, torn in one corner. It smells like the inside of your kit old tobacco, sweat and earth. You found it folded in your breast pocket, still dry, still blank. You stare at it now, perched on an ammunition crate inside the burned-out storehouse at Rorke's Drift. The pencil in your hand shakes just a little. You haven't written in weeks, maybe longer. The last letter you sent home to your mother, or your brother, or someone you still owe an apology was full of promises. That you were safe. That the food was tolerable. That the war was mostly quiet. You didn't lie. You just didn't know yet. But now? Now, the words won't come. You start with the date. Then stop. Because you don't know what day it is. The days have blurred. Blurred into one long scream of gunfire and mud and the sound of your own breath when you thought it might be your last. You write the word dearest. Then stop again. You hear Harris outside barking at someone to pass the water bucket. Another man laughs. A dry, tired laugh, the kind that says we're alive but not by much. You press the pencil down again. I am still here. You stare at the sentence. It looks stupid. You scratch it out. Try again. We were attacked. Understatement. I survived Isandlwana. There it is. The truth. 3 words that somehow don't feel like enough. You pause. Listen to the wind. It's still warm. Still full of dust and the kind of quiet that settles after men have screamed all they could. You write. It was like nothing I have ever seen. We were surrounded, outnumbered, and we fell, one by one. You stop. Stare at that last sentence. You change. We fell to... They fell. Because you're still here, and you don't know why. The pencil moves again, slowly. The Zulus were not savages, they were soldiers, and they fought harder and smarter than we ever expected. They came in silence and struck like thunder. You hesitate again. Because how do you say that? How do you say they earned it? You keep writing. We lost friends, good men, some I barely knew, some I shared jokes with yesterday. Now they're this land. You fold the letter. Leave it blank on the back. No signature. You don't know who it's for anymore. Maybe your mother. Maybe no one. Maybe it's just for you, a confession you'll never send. You tuck it into your pocket. Stand. Walk out into the yard. Smoke is still curling from the thatched roof. Someone is scrubbing blood off the chapel floor. The sun is already dropping behind the hills. Harris walks over. He's got a tin of beans in one hand and an open knife in the other. He sits next to you on the wall. Says nothing. Just hands you the tin. You eat in silence. And then he says, "Write anyone?" You nod. Post it. You shake your head. He doesn't press. He knows. Some letters get sent. Some get buried. Because the war has taken more than your strength. It's taken your certainty. You were sure of things once. The empire. The mission. The reasons. Now? Now you know the cost. Now you've seen it. You finish the beans. Hand the tin back. Wipe your mouth. You look out over the veld. Golden now, quiet again, pretending it never tasted blood. And you think about the letter in your pocket. You think, let it stay unread. Because the things I'd write, nobody back home could understand. And then, because you must, you get up. Because letters don't win wars, and you're still here. For now. The letter reaches London weeks later. Not yours. Someone else's. Someone with cleaner handwriting. Someone who survived with a clearer mind, or at least with the right name and rank. It lands on a desk at Horse Guards. passed from one official to another, initialed, stamped, filed, discussed, not wept over, not bled on, discussed. The phrases in the report are sharp, clinical. Engagement at Isandlwana resulted in significant losses. Zulu forces demonstrated unexpected organisation and discipline. British positions were overwhelmed due to strategic dispersion. It doesn't say we were arrogant. We underestimated. We paid. It says we will respond. And so they do. While you sit by the burned edge of Rorke's Drift, still coughing soot, while Harris picks splinters out of his hand with a bayonet tip, while vultures circle over the hills and graves go shallow for lack of time, London prepares an answer. More regiments, more supply chains, more wagons, more red coats to cover the ones now soaked into the ground of Isandlwana. The Empire is moving, slow, inevitable, like a tide that forgot how to feel. You hear about it before you see it. Days later, an officer reads a dispatch aloud in a voice that doesn't match the words. Reinforcements en route. Immediate fortification efforts recommended. Chelmsford remains in command. Someone snorts. Another man mutters, Still him? And just like that, you know, the Empire didn't learn a thing. It's not bringing clarity. It's bringing vengeance. You see it in the faces of the fresh arrivals. Men from the 2nd Battalion. Clean uniforms, shiny boots, wide eyes. They step down from wagons like they're arriving for a parade. They smell like leather and soap. They haven't seen it yet. The real war. Your war. You and Harris stand near the gate watching them file in. A young lieutenant gives you a nod. You nod back. He smiles. You don't. He says, Bit of a mess here, isn't it? You don't answer. Not because you don't want to. Because if you start, you won't stop. If you tell him what it was like, he won't sleep tonight. Or ever again. Let him keep the shine for now. Let him keep the illusion. Because the Empire needs soldiers. Not witnesses. That night you helped dig trenches. The ground is hard, even this far from Isandlwana. The men talk about revenge. About marching straight into Zululand and burning every kraal they find. You don't say a word. You just dig. Because revenge is a cold fire. And you've already burned once. You wake the next morning to a different kind of noise. Bugles. Marching orders. New uniforms lined up in rows, rifles gleaming under the sun. There's an inspection. There's a speech. It uses words like honour, duty and our righteous cause. You and Harris watch from a distance, eating hardtack like it's sacrament. He chews, then says, Think they'll win the next one? You shrug. Then, they'll bring enough men, enough bullets, enough cannon. That usually works. He nods. But it won't bring back Jenkins. You nod too. Because Jenkins is still there somewhere at the base of the hill, face turned to the sky. And no cannon can dig him out of that dirt. You look out toward the trail leading east, where the columns will march, where more blood will soak into the soil. Because this war isn't about land anymore. Not really. It's about pride. And pride doesn't count coffins. The Empire responds with steel, with formations, with reports sent in polished envelopes. But out here, in the dust and grass, the only real response is in the eyes of the men who lived through it. And when they close their eyes at night, they still hear the drums. Not yours, theirs. And that, more than any speech or cavalry charge, is what you know the Empire can't defeat. Not truly. Not forever. It begins not with a roar, but with a message. Hand-delivered across the river by a runner with bare feet, bright eyes, and a posture carved from tradition. No weapon, no shield, just a woven band around his arm and words pressed into memory by royal command. You're not there when he arrives. You're digging a trench near the cattle kraal behind Rorke's Drift. But you hear the talk before you see him. The king has spoken, someone says. He sent word. Another voice. To Chelmsford? A snort. To the Queen. You follow the trail of whispers to the centre of the station. There, surrounded by suspicious red coats and the half-circle of wagons, stands the messenger. He's maybe 20, maybe less. Dust clings to his calves. Sweat gleams across his chest. But he stands straight, unblinking. A man on royal duty. You don't know his name. You never learn it. But you feel it. This isn't just an errand. This is a move. Because King Cetshwayo isn't hiding. He's watching. And this is his answer to Isandlwana. Not another ambush. Not another wave of spears. But a statement. The officer with the cleanest uniform steps forward. Probably from Chelmsford's staff. He accepts the message without thanks. Unrolls it. Reads. No one speaks. The air shifts. The silence gets heavier. You hear the words second hand, late passed around like rumour but heavy with truth. The battle is done. Return to your land. We do not seek to fight the Queen, but if you continue, the rivers will run red again. It's not surrender. It's not defiance. It's a warning. One the Empire doesn't know how to handle. Back in camp, the officers meet. Papers rustle. Maps are laid out. Mouths argue while fingers point at hills, trails, rivers. But no one speaks of what it meant. You do, though. You and Harris and the rest of the men who watched Isandlwana burn. You say, the king didn't need to send that message, but he did. Which means he still believes this can stop. That blood doesn't have to be the only voice. But the Empire, it speaks in regiments. It answers in guns. You know it already. That message won't be enough. A few days later, the reinforcements arrive in full. Lines of soldiers. Tents that stretch beyond the ridge. Supply wagons loaded like coffins waiting for use. There's no peace in their eyes. Just mission. Just command. The king offered a line in the sand. Chelmsford answers with boots. You sit near a fire as the first fresh units drill just outside the walls. Clean rifles. New uniforms. They haven't seen it yet. You whisper to Harris. Do you think the king's watching? He nods. You both look toward the east. Toward the hills beyond the river. There, somewhere in the green, in a kraal encircled by warriors, Cetshwayo waits. Not hiding. Planning. This wasn't a surprise to him. Not the victory. Not the British response. He knows the pattern. Invade. Overreach. Bleed. Then rage. Then fire. You've heard stories of him. Educated. Measured. Cautious with his enemies. Ruthless with betrayal. A king trying to preserve what he knows is already slipping. Not from failure, but from fate. The Empire doesn't stop. It consumes. But the Zulu, they still believe in land. In blood. In the mountain gods and the spear passed from father to son. And now their king has made his move. He said, "We will not chase you, but if you return, we will not spare you." The next move? That belongs to the Queen. But out here, in the sun-drenched silence of Rorke's Drift, you already know how the answer will arrive. In boots, in iron, in war. It comes with no trumpet, no shout, no charge. Just a low distant drumbeat. Not from a band, from feet. Thousands of them. marching through the grass like rain before a storm. You're not on the wall when it begins. You're shaving. The blade slips when the lookout yells, "Movement on the ridge!" You drop everything. Grab your gear. There's no time for ritual now. By the time you climb the sandbag wall, they're already forming up. A long, curving line of Zulu warriors, shields locked, spears raised, not charging, not rushing, just watching. You grip your rifle tighter, not out of readiness, out of fear, because now you know this is how it starts. Not with fury, with focus. Harris slides into position beside you. He's chewing something. Tobacco maybe, or nerves. He mutters, "It's them again." You nod. No need to say which them. Zulu Impi. Maybe the same men from Isandlwana. Maybe they're brothers. The first shot cracks from one of the British rifles. Then another. Then the wall lights up 100 rifles, barking in angry rhythm. The line breaks, not in fear, in design. The Zulu rush forward in staggered formation. Some drop low, others zigzag. Shields up, spears ready. The bullets meet them. Some fall. Most don't. They crash into the barricade like water into stone. You fire. Reload. Fire again. It's fast now. Your hands have stopped shaking. Training takes over, until your shoulder aches from recoil. Harris shouts, "Left flank!" You turn, see a group trying to breach near the hospital. Bayonets flash. Someone screams. Then the roof catches fire. The hospital. You smell it before you see it dry, thatch burning, thick smoke curling above the yard. Inside, the wounded scream. They're trapped. Someone grabs you, drags you down from the wall. Come on, they're inside. You follow. The smoke blinds you. You crawl. A man hands you a bayonet. No time to fix it. You grip it like a knife again. Inside, the world is red and black. Fire, blood, shadow. You hear a voice shouting, "Through the wall! Get them out!" You stab. You swing. You drag a man who can't walk. You kick a Zulu warrior back through a window. He pulls you with him. You hit the ground outside. Roll! Cough. Get up, back to the wall. The smoke pours over the barricade now. You see a man with no boots and one eye leading a charge with a shovel. The Zulu keep coming. The moon rises, and the battle goes on. All night. No rest. No surrender. No mercy. You fight with bullets, then with blades, then with fists. They come in waves. Break against the walls. Fall back. Come again. The defenders, all of you, become ghosts. Painted in soot and blood. Moving through the dark like wraiths with rifles. No time to speak. Just grunt. Nod. Bleed. You don't remember how many you kill. You stop counting. At one point you and Harris are back to back near the storehouse, swinging clubs made from broken rifles. Someone shouts that the left barricade is failing. You run there. Then the right. You run there too. Your legs stop hurting. Your body stops protesting. You become the fight. Nothing else. Then, dawn. First light cuts through the smoke like a knife. And they're gone. Not all, but enough. You peer over the wall. Bodies. So many. Some moaning. Some still. Some kneeling in final prayers. You lower your rifle. Can't lift it anymore. Your hands won't close properly. Blisters torn. Knuckles split. You sit. Harris slumps beside you. He mutters, "We lived." You don't answer, because it doesn't feel like living. Not yet. The wounded groan. The flames die. The priest walks past carrying a body, his own boots missing. You close your eyes. Hear the silence. This time it's not waiting. It's after. Rorke's Drift still stands. But it's not a mission station now. It's a scar. And you're part of it. The smoke has cleared, but the smell remains. Charred wood. Blood. Burnt meat. It clings to the inside of your nose. To the seams of your coat. To your skin, no matter how many times you scrub your hands in river water. You survived the siege. You helped carry the wounded. You saw men die on ground they refused to give up. And now comes the part the songs won't sing about. The part no medal covers. The cleaning. The counting. The burying. The dead are everywhere. Inside the hospital near the walls, scattered in the long grass like dolls tossed by a tantrum. Zulu and British alike. And every one of them is a lesson the Empire's maps never marked. You stand beside a fire pit now, feeding splintered wood and spent cartridge boxes into the flames. Not for warmth, for disposal. The officers want the camp sanitized, cleaned, presentable. You throw in a length of charred canvas. Watch it curl and vanish. Discipline. Order. That's what they want. And they get it. Men line up again. Drills resume. Rations are issued by weight. The routine is a crutch. A mask. Because beneath it all you're still shaking. You see it in the others too. How they flinch when a tin cup clatters. How they tighten their grips when someone approaches too quickly. The war taught you many things, but one lesson rings louder than the rest. Discipline doesn't mean control. It means survival. At Rorke's Drift, men didn't hold because they were brave. They held because they were trained. Because when fear kicked down the door, instinct stepped in. Fire. Reload. Brace. Repeat. No thinking. No asking. Just doing. And when the Zulu came in waves, screaming, slamming against sandbags, leaping over flames, you did what you were taught, not what you believed. Because belief falters, but discipline, that carries you through the second hour of the fight in Nara, and the fifth, and the ninth. You remember one man, Corporal Allen, calm during the worst of it, moving from station to station, refilling ammunition belts, shouting fire orders like it was parade day. You asked him afterward how he stayed so focused. He answered, "I didn't. The training did." He was dead by morning. Wound gone septic. No scream, just a slow, grey fading. Now you pile his kit with the rest. 2 boots, 1 cracked mess tin, a book of psalms with blood across the spine. You toss the broken kit into the fire. Keep the book, not because you believe, but because it's all that's left. Elsewhere in the station, the officers are recording names. Not of the dead, they've mostly stopped that. Of the living, roll calls are sharp again. Discipline must be visible, must be audible, must mask the terror. Someone starts whitewashing the chapel wall. A new coat to hide the soot. Fresh start, they say. You don't answer, because no wall stays clean long in a war like this. Harris is tasked with teaching bayonet drill to the fresh recruits. He does it without a word. Jab, twist, pull back, again, again. He doesn't correct their form. He doesn't praise. He just shows them what to do, because soon they'll need to do it without him. Without thinking. At night you clean your rifle, not because it needs it, but because it gives your hand something to do besides tremble. Fire and discipline. It's what kept you alive. It's what keeps you going now. Not hope. Not rage. Not even memory. Just motion. Clean. Stack. report, march. And when the next fight comes, and it will, you'll be ready. Not because you want to be, but because you must. The war doesn't care how you feel, only whether your rifle is clean. The grass moves differently now, not in waves, not in wind, like something alive beneath it. Something watching. You tell yourself it's just the breeze, just the cattle wandering past, just your nerves, frayed raw and tied into knots too tight to ever fully loosen again. But deep down, you know the truth. You left bodies out there, and some of them are still whispering. The war has moved on, but the Veld hasn't. It remembers. It remembers the men who ran rifles empty, the ones who didn't make the river, the ones who did but died anyway. It remembers the clash of iron and wood, the hiss of fire on thatched roofs, the last breath of a boy from Manchester whose name was misspelled on his own tombstone. You walk the trail behind Rorke's Drift sometimes, not far, just enough to see the edge of where it happened. You don't go alone. You never go alone. Harris comes too. He says it's for security. You know it's for silence. Out there the world is too loud without saying a word. The grass is high, up to your waist in places. Sharp-edged, dry, golden. Somewhere out in it lies your old rifle. Maybe broken, maybe clean. You lost it during the retreat. You still dream about it. Sometimes it's in your hands, heavy, warm, full of bullets. Other times it's jammed, useless, covered in blood that won't wash off. In the grass you swear you see movement. Not animals, not patrols, just shapes, moments. Like a man crouching. Then he's gone. Like someone rising, spear in hand, then dust again. Ghosts, you think. Or maybe just your mind trying to tie knots in places that were never meant to be healed. You hear them at night too, not real words, not shouts. Just the echo of what used to be. A footstep behind your tent flap, a whisper on the edge of the wind. The sound of someone saying your name in a voice you remember from the ridge. But no one's there. The others feel it too. They won't admit it. But they light their pipes faster now. They clean their rifles longer. They laugh louder, like noise will keep the ghosts away. One night you wake to Harris standing outside, staring into the dark. He doesn't turn when you approach. Just says, "You ever think we're not meant to go back?" You say nothing. He continues, "We survived the fight, but we didn't leave." And he's right. Part of you never stepped off that ridge, never left that hospital, never stopped running from the spears. You carry it with you now, in your step, in your voice, in how you flinch when someone raises a hand too fast. The war put ghosts in the grass, and in you, and no amount of fire or discipline will drive them out. So you do what you can. You walk the perimeter, you clean your kit, you fold letters you'll never send. You say names out loud sometimes, just to prove they existed, just to keep the ghosts company. Because if you stop saying them, they fade. And if they fade, what was the point of surviving? Out there in the veld you crouch. You place a stone on the ground. No name, no marker. Just a weight, something to say, he was here. You walk back to camp in silence, and the grass closes behind you. They call it a campaign. You call it a march. But in truth, it's a funeral procession wearing red. Not for the fallen, for what's left of the old war, the one with rules, with maps, with clear lines between right and wrong. That war died at Isandlwana. Now, you march toward Ulunda, and what's coming isn't a battle. It's reckoning. The column forms before sunrise. You hear the orders before you see the wagons. Chelmsford is leading it himself. Redemption's weight on his back like a coffin full of blame. They won't say it out loud, but everyone knows. Ulundi is the Empire's answer, and it won't be whispered. You lace your boots in silence. Check your water canteen, your bayonet, your soul. All of it's tired. You're not the same man who first stepped into Zululand. That boy with polished boots and bright brass? He's buried somewhere back in the tall grass with the rest of the optimists. Now, it's just one foot in front of the other. The road is dry, cracked. The heat comes early, pressing down like judgment. The line stretches long, infantry, cavalry, artillery. Dozens of wagons, hundreds of faces, most unfamiliar. Some too young to shave, some with the 1,000-yard stare already burned into their skulls. You walk beside Harris. Neither of you speak much. There's nothing left to prove, nothing left to guess. The Zulu will make their stand at Ulundi. Everyone knows it. The last kraal, the last heart of the kingdom. And the king, still watching from somewhere out there, you wonder what he sees. A sea of red, iron. Men walking like they're chasing something they've already lost. The locals step aside as you pass. No smiles, no shouts, just quiet respect, or quiet fear. You're not sure which is worse. One night during the march you camp near a river. You wash your face, hands, boots, and you see your reflection in the water. Sunken cheeks, eyes too dark, lines that weren't there 6 months ago. You think, this is the face of the Empire now. Not a crown, not a general, just a tired soldier with dust in his teeth and ash behind his eyes. The days roll on, each one hotter, each one quieter. The officers don't make speeches anymore. They know better. The drums pick up again on the third day. Zulu scouts, close. You see them on the ridgelines, small, far, watching. And it begins to feel real again. Not just a march, an end. As Ulundi draws near, you feel the weight in the air shift. Heavier, like the sky knows something is about to crack. You sharpen your bayonet, oil your rifle, check your belt, then check it again. Not because you're nervous, because ritual is the only thing that keeps the fear from becoming bigger than your hands. The night before the final push, the sky turns red with fire from distant kraals. The Empire is clearing the land, preparing the battlefield. You sit with Harris by the fire. He's got a small tin of rum. You pass it back and forth. No words, just the warmth, the sound of fire, the murmur of sleeping men. He says, "Think he'll be there? Catch Shwayo?" You shrug. "He won't run," you say. "Reckon we will." You both know the answer. At dawn you rise, line up, rifle in hand. The final orders are given. You hear them, but don't listen. Your eyes are on the horizon, and there just past the heat haze you see it. Ulundi. Low walls, thatched roofs, a stillness that makes your skin crawl. No banners, no music, just a waiting silence. And you know, this is it. No more retreats, no more running. Only the storm. It begins before the sun finishes rising, a heat already thick enough to choke. Sweat on your neck before your boots hit the dust. You're standing in formation, tight, precise. A square of men, bayonets gleaming like teeth on a waiting predator. This isn't a skirmish. This is punishment. Chelmsford's revenge carved into steel and wrapped in the red of the Empire. The orders are clear. Hold the line. Fire on command, no mercy. This is not Rorke's Drift. This is not a desperate stand in the night. This is Ulundi, the last heart of the Zulu kingdom. And you are here to silence it. The square is enormous. 4 sides of rifles, artillery at the corners, cavalry waiting behind like wolves on a leash. You stand on the eastern side, rifle in hand, mouth dry, shoulder already aching from yesterday's drill. You glance at Harris. He's watching the horizon. You follow his gaze. They're coming. Not fast, not loud, dignified. Thousands, moving as one. No shrieks, no scattered charges. Just a steady beat, shields held high, spears glinting in the rising light, feet pounding rhythm into the earth. The Zulu impi, warriors, the real ones, the ones who did not die at Isandlwana or retreat at Rorke's Drift, the ones who have chosen to stand and fall with their king. The first volley erupts from the square. You fire without thinking, the rhythm begins. Load, fire, reload, fire. A wall of smoke builds between you and them, but still they come, closer, faster. The earth shakes now. Some break off and sweep around the flanks. Your corner of the square tightens. The sergeant barks orders. You fire again. They hit the edge of the square like water on stone, but this time the stone is ready. The bayonets catch them. The bullets cut them down. You can smell the blood. You can taste it. Screams. Shouts. Then a voice beside you, not an officer. Just another man. Hold, lads, hold! And you do, because today discipline doesn't keep you alive. It keeps you from breaking. The sun climbs. The Zulu attack again, and again. They come in waves, coordinated, relentless. You admire it, even as you kill them, because they are not giving in. Not to steel, not to empire, not to fate. Behind you the Gatling guns begin to speak. Their voice is cruel, unforgiving. They tear through flesh like thunder. You see a warrior charge within 20 feet, his shield full of holes, his eyes locked to yours. You shoot. He drops. His spear slides to your boots. You don't pick it up. You just keep firing. Another hour passes, or a lifetime, and finally the square begins to move forward, carefully, 1 foot at a time, through smoke, through corpses, through the final defenders. The artillery opens up on the kraal itself. The thatch bursts into flame. Roofs collapse. Walls crumble. You enter Ulundi behind a tide of bayonets and ash. It is not a city. It is a memory burning. No women, no children, no sign of Ketshwayo. Only smoke, flame, and the silence of something sacred being broken. A temple without prayers. A kingdom ending. You stop in the centre. Drop to a knee. Not from reverence. From exhaustion. The sergeant calls out names. Numbers. Half of them lost in the smoke. You sit. White blood from your face. Not yours. Someone's. You see Harris nearby. He's staring at a collapsed hut, his bayonet bent, his eyes wet. Not crying, just full. You want to say something. You don't. Because what do you say when a war dies? When a people's last breath is taken not with a scream but with a steady gaze and a spear that didn't flinch? You stand, the fire crackles, Ulundi falls behind you, and ahead, only dust. Ulundi burns behind you. The smoke still climbs, but the orders say, go forward. The war is over, they say. But you know better, because a war doesn't end with fire. It ends with silence. And King Ketshwayo is still somewhere in that silence. Alive. Hidden. waiting. And so now it's not war. It's pursuit. It's hunting. You and Harris ride with a small detachment. Scouts, trackers, a few native auxiliaries who know the land better than any map. The officers call it a final sweep. You call it what it is. Ghost chasing. The Zulu king is gone, melted into the hills, into the forests, into the mouths of rivers that remember his name better than you ever could. You ride through broken kraals, abandoned homesteads, ash. The people are gone, or hiding, or watching from the trees with eyes too tired to fear. Everywhere you go, you feel it. Not danger, not even hatred, just absence. You sleep on dry ground, cold, uncomfortable. The fire keeps the hyenas back, not the memories. One night, Harris wakes you. I heard something. You both listen. It's only wind, but your rifles stay close anyway, because it could be them, the last impi, the ones who won't give up, who don't care that Ulundi fell. Or maybe it's him, the king, not to fight, but to speak. They say he's a tall man, soft voice, hard eyes, a leader who wanted order, not chaos. And the irony, you almost believe that now, because what came from London wasn't order. It was thunder, and thunder can't build, only break. You pass through a gorge the next day. The walls climb high, green with moss, damp with mist. One of the native scouts kneels, points, tracks, bare feet fresh. The hunt quickens. You move faster. Your gear lighter now, your heart heavier, because a part of you, a strange, quiet part, doesn't want to find him. Not because you fear him, but because if you do, it's really over, and then you'll have to go home. Try to explain what you saw, what you did, what you became, and they won't understand. They'll say, "The war in Zululand? Yes, I read about that, glorious victory." They'll say, "So brave." They won't say, "Did it feel right?" And do you still see their eyes? Or was it worth it? No. They'll shake your hand, pin a medal, buy you a drink, and never ask about the part of you that stayed in the grass. So, you ride slower. Just a little. You find traces, campfires long cold, bits of woven cloth, scattered bones, not from fighting, from waiting. The king moves like smoke, always ahead, always just out of reach. Then, on a humid morning, in a hidden valley, you see him. No war cry, no guards. Just a figure in white robes sitting beside a pool, looking into the water like it might still answer. He turns, meets your eyes. No fear, no anger, just tired recognition. The officer steps forward, says something rehearsed. You don't hear it. All you hear is the wind through the reeds. Then the king rises, tall, straight-backed. He says nothing, just extends his hands. He's taken, not in chains, not in blood, in silence. He walks with you back to camp, head high, not a prisoner. A monarch walking off the edge of history. That night, no one drinks, no one laughs. You and Harris sit on a log, watching the stars blink out one by one as the smoke rises from the last campfire. You ask him, was this justice? He shrugs. Then, was it ever going to be anything else? You don't answer, because the truth is, this wasn't a hunt. It was a burial, not of a man, not even of a kingdom, of certainty, and in its place, only smoke. There's no parade, no band waiting with polished brass or fresh uniforms. No cheering crowd. Just a tired column of men moving west, away from the land that broke them. The war is over, they say. The king is in chains. Ulundi is ash. The Zulu nation lies silent. You should feel something. Victory. Relief. Pride. But you don't. All you feel is the weight of your rifle, the ache in your feet, and the hollowness where your soul used to fight to be heard. You and Harris walk side by side again. No conversation. You've both run out of words. When you speak now, it's only when necessary. Food. Water. Watch. The trail winds through familiar valleys. Grass you remember, but it's taller now, as if it's trying to cover the things you left behind in it. Sometimes you catch yourself watching it, waiting for movement, for ghosts, for the past to rise up and ask why you lived when others didn't. But the grass says nothing. It never does. You stop at Rorke's Drift again, just for a day. The mission station is still there, rebuilt. Fresh whitewash on the walls. You stare at it and think. It's like painting a tombstone and pretending it's a house. Some of the locals greet you. Nods. Eyes that watch without emotion. They've seen it all. And they know you don't belong here anymore. You never did. Your boots aren't welcome. Your medals won't feed them. Your queen can't hear them from across the ocean. So you pack up, march on, south now, to Natal, to the ships. You hear talk of medals, mentions in dispatches. Chelmsford's reputation being rehabilitated. Someone says a painting is being commissioned in London. A great scene of Ulundi. Smoke, flags, heroism. They won't paint the corpses, or the cries, or the way you and Harris looked at each other as the flames took the last of the thatch and you realised, we're not the good guys, no artist wants that in oils. One night a chaplain holds a service, small. Half the men don't attend. Those who do bow their heads as he talks about sacrifice. Honour. God's will. You open one eye during the prayer, see Harris staring at the ground, jaw clenched. When the priest says Amen, neither of you reply. You move on. At the port you see the ship waiting. Iron hull, canvas sails. The name painted neatly across the bow. Endeavour. You almost laugh, but it catches in your throat. You board. Below deck the air is thick. Smells like salt and men and regret. You find a hammock. Lay back. Close your eyes. The ship groans. The ropes pull. And just like that you're leaving Zululand behind. But it doesn't leave you. It comes with you. In your hands. Your dreams. The way you'll flinch when someone drops a fork in a cafe back home and the clang sounds too much like a rifle bolt. You'll walk streets again. You'll wear shoes without mud. You'll sleep in a bed and drink something that doesn't come from a dented tin. But inside something stays on the veld. Forever. A version of you. Still holding the line. Still watching the hills. Still waiting for the next drumbeat. You think about writing home again. Another letter. But what would you say? Dear Mother, I survived a war we should never have started. You don't write it. You just lay there. Eyes open, ship rocking, sea stretching out into everything. And far behind on the African shore the wind picks up again. You swear just for a second yet. You hear it whisper. You came for a kingdom, but you lost yourself. They come in brown paper, folded, sealed, stamped with a government crest so official it feels insulting. One morning, weeks after you've returned, a man in a clean coat knocks on your door. You answer barefoot. He doesn't look you in the eye. Just says, "Delivery for private." He checks a clipboard, mispronounces your name, hands you the parcel, and walks away before you can correct him. You stand there in the hall holding a box that feels heavier than it is. Not from weight, from memory. Inside a silver disc. Shiny. Cold. On the front, Queen Victoria's profile. On the back, a lion and a date. 1879. You turn it in your hand like it might tell you something. It doesn't. Not about Harris. Not about Jenkins. Not about the spear that tore through Miller's side as he tried to pull a wounded man over the barricade. Not about what it smelled like inside the hospital when the roof collapsed and the air filled with screams that didn't sound human anymore. It tells none of that. It only shines. You set it on the table. Stare at it. It stares back. Later, your neighbour stops by. Older gentleman. Fought in Crimea, he says. He sees the medal and nods. Deserved, that is, he mutters. Not many made it out of that one. You say nothing. He taps the medal with a fingernail. Clinks. You'll want to get that mounted, show the family. You nod. Lie. Say, I will. But you won't. The medal stays in the box. Eventually it moves to a drawer, then a cupboard, then a tin under the floorboards. Because you don't want to see it every morning. Not when you're shaving. Not when you're eating toast and trying to forget the taste of hardtack and blood. You hear others talk about theirs. Some wear them on Sundays. Others polish them like trophies. They weren't where you were. They didn't smell what you smelled. Didn't dig with their hands because the shovels ran out. Didn't watch men bleed out with no morphine left and flies landing before their breath was even gone. The medal is not for those moments. It's for the idea of those moments. The idea of bravery. The illusion of triumph. And maybe that's enough for some. But not for you. You carry your medal the same way you carry the war. In silence. In private. Out of reach. Because no metal disc can make what happened in Zululand worth it. And if someone ever asks, your son, your neighbour, a curious stranger in a tavern, what was it like? You'll smile politely, say hot, dusty. You won't say the rest. You won't say what the medal doesn't. That every night since Ulundi, you've woken up expecting to hear the drums again. Not in fear, but in familiarity, because they made more sense than silence. They ask polite questions, not often, just enough to say they asked. How was Africa? Was it very hot? Did you see any lions? They say it like you took a holiday, like you spent your days photographing trees and your nights beneath stars that didn't know how to burn your skin. You answer quietly. Yes. Very. No. Because the truth would only make them uncomfortable. And they don't want the truth. They want distance. They want to feel proud without knowing why. They want to hear that Queen and country were served, that it was all worth it, that the medals mean something clean, but you know better. So, you sit in drawing rooms with wallpaper too bright and tea that tastes like ash, and listen to stories about trade and shipping and the weather back in April. And you nod at the right times. You learn when to laugh. You smile when they say, well, it's good to have you home. But you don't feel home. Because here, in this quiet street with trimmed hedges and laundry lines, and church bells that chime like nothing ever changed, you're a foreigner. Your boots are too loud on the stone. Your eyes stay too long on windows. Your hands move before your mind tells them to, gripping the armrest, counting steps between exits, always listening for drums that aren't coming. You tried a job, briefly, a clerk's position. Paper, ink, shelves with neat labels. Your superior complained that you organised the records by category instead of alphabetically. You almost explained that it's how you stacked ammunition crates at Rorke's Drift, how your system saved lives, but you stopped. Because you wouldn't understand. Because here, organisation is just tidiness, not survival. The silence here is different. Not like the silence on the Veld, where even stillness felt like something watching. Here, it's empty. Glory. And behind them, Ulundi, burning again. The fire rises in a straight column like a signal. No warmth, just light. Too much light. You look down at your chest. Your red coat is torn, but there's no blood. You are whole. Outside, in the real world, your body twists in the sheets. Sweat soaks the pillow. You mumble something, maybe a name, maybe a warning. You don't always remember the dream when you wake, but you remember how it felt. Heavy, like your bones were filled with ash. You sit on the edge of the bed, feet on the floor, hands trembling. And still you don't cry, because the tears dried in 1879. Now all you have is the ritual. Coffee before sunrise. Walks before the town wakes up. Cleaning a rifle you haven't fired in years. Touching the edge of a medal you swore you'd bury but couldn't. Sometimes, on quiet mornings, you go to the field behind the church, where no one goes. Where the wind sounds just a little too familiar. You stand there, close your eyes, and you're back in the tall grass again. Not in fear, not even in pain, just present, as if the land itself remembers you and is asking, what did you learn? You never answer aloud, but sometimes you think, I learned that courage is what happens after your reason leaves. That victory doesn't mean survival, that enemies can fight with more honour than your own commanders, that fire consumes everything, even you. The dreams don't stop, maybe they never will, but in time they become less violent, more like visits, not hauntings. The king appears sometimes, in white, sitting beside the same river where they found him. He doesn't speak, but he watches. And you understand, in the dream at least. He didn't lose. You all did. The Empire won the war, but the cost was written in bone. And bone doesn't forget. Not in Zululand. Not in London. Not in you. One night, long after the last ceremony, the last handshake, the last article written about the gallant stand, you wake from a dream that isn't violent, just still, and in it the grass is quiet, the air is soft, and someone, maybe Harris, maybe the boy from Sandalwana, puts a hand on your shoulder and says, it's over now, and for the first time, you believe them. You rise. The window is open. The wind carries the scent of earth and memory. And somewhere far behind you, in a land of fire and spears and men who never truly died, glory, and beat finally stops. Years pass, quietly, like footsteps in snow. Zululand becomes a word in books, a footnote in history, a chapter they skim in classrooms but don't linger on. You see it sometimes, in newspapers, in discussions between men who were never there, speaking with certainty about things they never smelled or felt or lost. You don't argue. You just listen, like the land once did. You have a garden now, small, orderly. The soil is stubborn, Matthew, but it listens better than most people. You find peace in the planting, in digging with bare hands, in burying seeds instead of memories. Sometimes a bird lands near your spade and doesn't fly off, and for a moment the silence feels warm. You keep a box under your bed, the medal, a letter you never sent, one of Harris's dog tags, and a drawing done by a child in your village of a red coat and a Zulu shaking hands. Crude, hopeful. You never had children. But the boy who drew it left it on your doorstep. He asked what war was like. You told him, it's loud and long, and sometimes it follows you home. He didn't understand. He will one day. You still dream, but the dreams change. A fire. More faces. You see Jenkins laughing in the mess tent. You see the king, always by water, always looking beyond you. Then, you see the grass. Just grass. Not hiding enemies, not whispering names. Just growing. It's in that grass you want to be laid, someday. Not under a stone. Not in uniform. Just beneath the sky, where the wind is soft, and the ghosts don't shout anymore. They hum. A song only old soldiers know. A lullaby from the earth itself. You sit in the evening light, tea cooling in your hand, and you hear it. No drums, no bugles, just birds. And the faint memory of peace, finally remembering how to speak. You take it from the wardrobe one morning, not for a parade, not for inspection, not because anyone asked, just to see it. The red coat, brass buttons dulled, collar faded, a small tear under the armpit where a bayonet caught you during training, years before the real blades came for you. It doesn't fit the same now, the shoulders tighter, the fabric thinner, but when you hold it, you remember the weight of expectation more than the wool. You lay it across the chair, carefully, like folding a flag. It's not pride that makes you do it. It's memory. You remember the first time you wore it, how it made you taller, how it made your mother cry, how the recruiter smiled like he was giving you the future in exchange for your name on a line. You believed him, not anymore. Now you see the uniform for what it is, a symbol, not of power, but of burden, of standing when others fall, of marching into lands not your own, of surviving things no cloth can protect you from. You run your hand over the sleeve. Think about Harris. He never made it home. He wrote a letter once, tucked it under your blanket before Ulundi. You found it later. It read, "If I don't come back, tell story true. Don't dress it up. Let them know what it cost. You never showed it to anyone. But you remember it every time someone says glory. You sit beside the chair now, the uniform still watching you, and for the first time in years, you talk to it. Out loud. You say the names, the real ones, the full ones, not the ranks or titles, just the men. You speak them into the air like seeds. Let the room hold them. Because if you don't, who will? Outside, the street is quiet. Children run past chasing a hoop. Someone's baking bread. The sun sits low, patient. You rise, fold the coat, place it in a box. You write a note. Not long. Just, "This is the last thing I carried from the war. It does not belong to me anymore. It belongs to the memory of those who wore it and never took it off." You seal the box. No ceremony, no parade, just silence. And for once, it feels earned. And so, the story ends. Not with celebration, not with a speech, but with silence and rest. The Anglo-Zulu War burned hot and brief, but its shadows were long. And the men who fought in it, the ones who lived, the ones who didn't, the ones who never fully came home, they left their stories in the grass. Now you've walked among them, and it's time to rest. Take a breath. Let it all go. You're not on the veld anymore. You're safe. And you can sleep. Short pause. If this story helped you drift, or made the weight of history feel a little lighter, please consider liking the video and subscribing to War Stories for Sleep. It helps us keep telling these quiet histories, stories of conflict and courage. And now and then, not to stir you awake, but to carry you gently into dreams. We'll be here next time. And until then, sleep well, dream deep, and remember, even in war there is silence, and even in silence there is memory.